Yes, much love to you, and thank you for being a part of the J&B family. Thank you, guys. Much love to you, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Today's topic. You guys ready for it? Today's
Mm,
topic: modern day slavery. You hear me? Modern day slavery. Are we going back? That's a real question that we're gonna talk about today. Hey, y'all, welcome back to another exciting episode of J&B Live Podcast. I'm your host, Broker J3, and I'm here with the beautiful, the one and only Dr. B.
yes, yes. Hi, guys. How are you guys doing this evening? I'm ready for this conversation to take today, Broker J3. But I've got to be honest with you guys. This one hits really deep. It does. So,
You're right, Dr. B.
mm-hmm,
Today we're going to be talking about a story that's been all over the news. Jenny K. Whitefeather and her partner, Danelle Lance from West Virginia,
mm-hmm.
they were just convicted of horrific crimes, forcing 5 black children that they adopted into slavery.
Yeah, Donald Lance is her partner. Woo! 5 adopted black children. And instead of giving them love, showing them some love and a better life, they force these babies, these young kids, to work like slaves. According to the CBS News, Whitefeather was sentenced to 250 years for forced labor, human trafficking, child abuse, and civil rights violation, while Lance received 160 years for similar charges. Mm,
And you know what? We have to thank God for the whistleblower who
mm.
had the courage to come forward. Without that person, who knows how much longer these children would have suffered.
Yes, and then you don't even know how long they've suffered. They moved from state to state, but they were only caught in West Virginia. So today we're diving into the details of this case and whether the sentences were fair, how this situation makes us feel as black mothers and black fathers, not just mothers. Are we slipping back into the days of slavery? Do some of y'all feel like that?
Mm.
And what does Project 2025 say about all of this? How it relates to what's going on? We'll also talk about the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and whether those protections still hold strong or are those protections slipping away.
Mm.
And finally, we're going to explore whether any form of modern slavery still exists in the United States today.
Y'all, this is one that's going to be heavy. So we need to talk about it.
Yes,
So
we do.
buckle up and let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're first going to jump into the Whitefeather case and the sentencing. All right, Doc B. Let's start with the facts. Jenny K. Whitefeather and Donald Lance, this couple from West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
adopted 5 black children. Okay, but as we realized, instead of raising them with love and care, as you said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
they turned their home into a prison.
Turned their home into a prison, and these young babies were working like they were slaves. So they forced the kids to do hard labor, anywhere from cleaning the house, maintaining the yard, working in the fields, cooking the meals, and they pulled the kids out of school to hide what was happening to them because they were, according to the court records, they were filthy.
Mm, mm. And they kept them isolated from the outside world. No friends, no contact with anyone, no help.
No help. And the abuse did not stop there. According to the CBS News, they reported that Whitefeather and Lance physically and emotionally abused the children. And it went on for years. We don't know how long it went on before someone finally intervened.
Now here's the part that really
Mm-hmm.
had me heated up, Doc B. Whitefeather was sentenced to 215 years in prison, and Lance was sentenced to 160 years in prison. But I have to ask, was that really enough?
That's a good question. What do you think, King Reed? Do you think that sentence was fair? What about Summer Rose? Do you think that sentence was fair that they received? What about you, Lillian Rivero? How do you feel about that sentence? Mm. Broker J3, 215 years and 160 years sounds like a long time, but they give them those years and they serve, of course, less than that. But when I think about what the kids endured, just years of trauma, Their childhoods were just stolen, practically stolen. I don't know if any sentence can truly make up for what they went through.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And you know, and I keep wondering if these kids had been white, would the sentences have been harsher?
That's a good question. Um, I'm thinking as black mothers, I don't know if that sentence is harsh enough, but emotionally, how do we even process what just happened to those young kids?
Well, that's a good question, Doc B. And again, we'd like to thank everybody that's joining us today. It's a very heartfelt podcast today, talking about the sentencing in the case with the five black children that was basically treated as slaves for years. You know, again, we thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys tap the screen,
Yes.
show us the love. You know, send a gift. We appreciate every little bit counts. Thank you so much.
Yes, we do.
We're gonna go ahead and you know reflect. You know, as Doc B said in regards to some of the black mothers out there. Doc B, I gotta ask, how does this make you feel as a black mother?
No, God, it's just it's heart wrenching for me because I mean it just literally just breaks my heart because I think about my grandchildren. I have a 7-year-old grandson and two 4-year-old. I have a granddaughter that's 4 and another grandson that's 3. So it breaks my heart because I'm thinking about my grandbabies and I just can't imagine them being taken away into a home where they are supposed to be safe. Your kids are supposed to be safe. Your grandchildren are supposed to be safe. But instead, they're treated like slaves.
Yeah, same here, Doc B. You know, sometimes I think about my sons or even my daughters when they was little, and you know, what if someone had taken them, you know, and did the same thing to them? It's just absolutely terrifying to think about.
Yes, it is. It is sad to think about it. And this is why stories like this hit so hard. It hits hard at the core because we know that our babies are vulnerable. You know, they don't know any different. They're just being doing what they're being told.
Yeah, and honestly, Doc B, it y'all gotta excuse me. This is really a tough story because you know any mothers and fathers out there, can you imagine? Literally, just imagine if your child was abducted, taken from you, and for years, you know that child endured emotional and physical trauma while being treated as slaves. You know, this is very hard to even comprehend, and even not be as you think about today. Not just with what happened with those kids. You know, it has me wondering: are we really slipping back into the days of slavery?
Yeah, you have to ask yourself. And even though the kids, the 5 children were adopted, so they adopted them and they took advantage of the system and nobody checked on the kids to make sure that the kids were doing okay. But still, you ask yourself, are we slipping back into the days of slavery? Man, I've been asking myself this for a long time because some of the things that happened in the United States, you do view it as some form of slavery. And we're going to talk about the prison system in a little bit. But you also ask yourself, is Project 2025 lurking in the shadows? Is it coming back? Is it going to push slavery back to the forefront? You have to ask yourself that question.
So you know, let's actually talk about that, Doc B. Let's talk about Project 2025 and its implications. So let's break down Project 2025 for those out there who may not know what it's about and what's going on in regards to it.
Okay, so Project 2025 is a conservative blueprint that was created by the Heritage Foundation. You know, we heard a lot about Project 2025 before the election, but now some of the items listed in those 900 plus pages are being implemented. It is designed to overhaul the U.S. government by rolling back civil rights protection, weakening labor laws, and limiting the federal government power to protect marginalized communities. So it's coming.
And when we look deeper into it, I saw that one of their goals is to drastically cut funding to the agencies which we've been watching that as literally every day, that investigate human trafficking and labor exploitation.
Yes,
It's like you're eliminating the agencies that actually watch over and protect. That actually, they're like the watchdogs for stuff like this that's going on. And if you eliminate that, who's gonna be watching, when situations like this happen, who's going to be policing that?
Yeah. And so you ask yourself, what happens if those protections are gone? So who's going to protect the vulnerable children like the ones in this Whitefeather's case? It's interesting. Okay, so I see here, we are a different type of people. Now both sides will suffer from it. That is correct. Both sides are going to suffer. Everybody's going to suffer from it. So, but the thing of it is you ask yourself, are we slipping back into slavery? Because we'll no longer be protected. If those people that mandate and enforce the laws from those organizations, who's going to protect our children?
Exactly. And guys, let's not forget, Project 2025 isn't just about policy, It's about creating a system where marginalized communities have less power and fewer protections than they ever had before.
Yes.
We're looking at how they're eliminating very important things that really are helping poor and elderly people. And it doesn't matter what color they are.
Yeah. So Sean Stafford, thank you for joining us. Katie, Bremo, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for your comments. We do appreciate it. Robert Hill, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your gifts. Thank you guys. We really do appreciate it. So we want you to ask yourself, do you think, add a comment in the comment section and let us know how you feel about slavery and Project 2025, and have you been affected recently by some of those changes, okay?
Exactly, guys, because you guys know this is an interactive podcast. We love when you guys chime in. We love when you guys mention things that you see that's going on and how you may feel. We appreciate that. We actually look forward to that. And as Doc B said, we thank you for the hearts tapping the screen.
Yes.
We thank you for the gifts. Please continue. Every little bit counts. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, what it feels like to me is this is a dangerous step towards systemic oppression. In other words, we're not going forward, we're going backwards.
Exactly. So, when you talk about going backwards, let's take it back a few years back where with the civil rights and are we still protected? Let's talk about that.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So, that actually protected us. It was supposed to protect us from discrimination in schools, housing, and workplace. But in 2025, is it still holding up? What do you think, Broker J3?
That's a good question, Doc B. Technically, the laws are still in place. But let's be real. Weak enforcement and loopholes can make the protection feel like it's hollow, like it's not even there. It's non-existent.
Yeah. And then you have to think about the conservative court chipping away at key provisions. I am seriously worried about the future of those protections. Will they be around in the next 2 years, 4 years, 6 years? Who knows at this point?
I'm not sure. Even with what's happening with DEI right now, releasing, people from their jobs, laying them off, in the thousands. We're not talking about hundreds to thousands, and I feel like the protections actually, Doc B, has got weakened.
Yeah.
Those marginalized communities always feel it first. I mean, and when I mention marginalized communities, I'm talking about the poor, the minorities. Those are the ones that get hit first, and the elderly.
Yes.
Those are the ones that get hit first.
And the LGBT community.
Exactly. And in cases like the Whitefeathers, it just shows us that the system just isn't foolproof at all.
And so what's happening is, my sister cousin, that's what we call each other. We were just talking probably about 2 hours ago about, the intent of Project 2025. And she and I both agreed that it's designed to eliminate the middle class. You're either going to be poor or you're going to be rich. There's not going to be an in between. And so that marginalized group is going to be poor people that are going to get affected. And some people don't realize it now. It's going to be extreme. You don't see it. And it's going to hit you and you don't even know it's coming. But it's time for people to wake up and realize what's happening and try their best to be prepared. Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really that brings us to modern day slavery in the U.S.
Yeah. So we've been asking if we're going back to slavery, but here's the truth: modern day slavery, it never left.
Exactly, because that's the part that people don't want to talk about. You know, you've been hearing it all over the news. They even want to wipe out slavery from American history altogether. They don't even want to talk about Black history at all. Period, because it's almost like if you don't talk about it, remove it from the textbooks, it never happened. Come on, let's be real. Slavery just evolved, y'all. You know, we done heard it time and time again. Even with the Ku Klux Klan, the only difference is they took the hoods off and they became judges, sheriffs, teachers. You know, they're still here. They're not gone. You know, and it's still happening in different forms of human trafficking. You know, forced labor, and even through the prison system. Come on, let's look at the majority of people that's in the prison system. You know, it's cash for people in the system.
Yeah.
That's why these prisons are privatized.
Yeah. And some of the ones incarcerated work for pennies. On the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. Yeah. So let's break this down, Broker J3. We're gonna keep it going, guys. Add your comments, please.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the human trafficking. All right. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And guess what? And it's right here in the U.S. Vulnerable communities, especially Black and Hispanic girls and immigrants, they're at the highest risk.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. Now, this has been happening for years now. Yeah, for some of the older folks, you know, such as myself, you know, I remember when we was younger, they used to have the little milk cartons. They used to have little kids on the milk carton that was missing. It was going on back then. And it's happening in an alarming manner now. In fact, it was on the news the other day that it was talking about the ring of human trafficking, where it's a lot of the hotel owners or managers that work in the hotels and the I don't want to use that word pimps, you know, but all of them are associated together. You know, it's a mass ring. This is not just one person. This goes up into a higher level, folks. Trust what I'm telling you. Even some law enforcement, some dirty law enforcement are involved in this, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, and also, you wouldn't believe this. Sometimes you think it's just in the larger cities. Sometimes it happens even in the rural areas. So you don't know where it's happening. And I didn't know that the rural areas were affected. But yes, it even happens in the smaller cities as well. So what we're going to go to next, we're going to talk a little bit more about human trafficking. So what the traffickers do is they use fear, manipulation, and violence to control the victims. It's a modern day slave trade happening right under your nose.
Exactly. And you know, it makes me think about they pulled the tractor trailer truck over and found over 20 people inside that tractor trailer truck. You know, it's happening, guys. You know, be only thing I can say in regards is be very cautious. You know, keep close tabs on your children when they're not there. Use those tracking devices that you guys have, regardless whether your kids like it or not, just so you guys know exactly where your kids are. You know, be very careful in large areas such as arenas, concerts, and so forth like that, and even malls.
Yeah.
Because those people hang out in those areas and they target kids that are by themselves. You know, just because your son may be 8 years old and you think that he can go to the restroom by himself, you know, just be very cautious of that.
Yes.
You know, because those are the ones that are most vulnerable. Okay.
Yes. And we have a comment that says they get kids out of the Department of Children and Families.
Yes, them foster homes.
Kids.
You know how many children that grew up in foster homes talks about how much that they was molested, abused while they was in this foster home. Yeah. The home that's supposed to look out for them, you know, since they're not with their real parents, supposed to look out for them and care for them, are actually abusing them just like the Whitefeather.
Yeah,
So
yes.
you know, it's like
happening.
It's tough, guys.
Yes.
I mean, this topic today is real, and we want you guys to be able to know what's going on. For some of you ones that's not paying attention, that don't watch the news regularly, you know, we want you to keep your kids safe. All right.
And thank you, Country V Bourbon, for joining us. Thank you guys for your comments. We do appreciate all these comments. Thank you. We appreciate you guys. We also have let's see. Thank you guys for joining us. We have Pitto Sito. Thank you for joining us. Be Gone Wild, thank you for joining us.
And
so we're talking about modern day slavery, and we talked about human trafficking. Next, we're going to talk about the prison labor. So what's going on in the prisons?
Now, let's talk about this prison industry, industrial complex. Now, I just mentioned it before. Now, these prisons, they're privatized. You know, you guys may think that these state prisons belong to the state. But a lot of these some of them are, but most of them are owned by multi-million or billion-dollar industries. Because again, for every person that's in prison, they're making money. They're using those prisoners to do hard labor for literally pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar. You're exactly right. And don't forget about the exploitation of. Let's see. Well, let's talk about the 13th Amendment first. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, except for as punishment for a crime. And what happened? They started locking up black men and women at alarming rates and forcing them to work for pennies. So that's what when they so-called abolished slavery, they reverted and started building these prisons. And you notice they're building more prisons than ever. I think Georgia is one of the ones that is like high as far as the number of prisons in that particular state.
As well as Texas. And you know what that is? That's just legalized slavery, plain and simple. Let's call it what it is, guys.
Yes, it is. So next we're going to talk about the exploitative labor practices, and don't forget about our migrant and domestic workers. We don't want to forget about them because sometimes that's considered modern day slavery as well because they're not paying them their worth either.
And not to mention that what's happening with immigration right now, you know, is really sad. You know, they're literally taking people off the streets and having them deported back to their home country. Now, you know, we're talking about people that have been working here for years, you know, and some of them are pillars of their community, you know, doing very well, have kids that go to school here. Now they're taking these people and they're deporting them in alarming rates.
Yes, it is.
It's really sad. You got people that's scared to come out, you know, because it's like they can just stop them at will and check to see if they're a citizen. If they're not, you know, want to go ahead and deport them. It's just
and we do also want to mention now that I think it was signed by him the other day that you're not considered a citizen if you were born here. Yeah. In other words, you know, in the past, if you were born in the United States, then you were a citizen. But if your parents aren't, then you aren't either.
So basically,
you can be deported.
Basically, if your parents came over here illegally and they had you, so that way that you can be a legal citizen in the United States and be able to enjoy the benefits. Now, what happened is because of what the president did was sign an order to make it so that if your parents was not legally here, no matter whether you was born here, now you're illegal as well. Yeah. So a lot of these things are just now happening. So you're not going to see the implementation of a lot of these things until a few months to come, and you guys are going to really realize how rough it's going to get out here for a lot of people. And many workers, even right now, facing harsh conditions with little to no protection at all.
Yes, okay. So next, what can we do? So Broker J3, what do you think we can do about all of this?
Well, the best thing that we can do, Doc B, is stay informed.
Stay informed.
You know, that's the most important thing. That's what me and Doc B are doing right now. We're trying to inform you guys on what's going on. The next thing we do is speak out. We need to talk about these things that's going on. We can't be silent, because being silent And watching things happen and not talk about it, that's not going to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We need to support the organizations that fight against human trafficking and prison reform. We have to support them because they are doing the right thing, and we want to support the people that's doing the right thing. And most importantly, this past election,
Yes.
we realized what a lot of people didn't do was vote.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter. It does matter. That is what they're trying to put into your head, that it don't matter whether you vote or not. That is not the case. Stop believing that lie. Get it out your head. Your vote does matter.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And you want to hold our political leaders accountable. They are accountable for what they're doing. Because if we don't hold them accountable, it says if we don't hold them accountable, who will? Someone, I think this was B posted, Florida has a bill going forward that teenagers are eligible to work overnight with no restrictions.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, this is what's key. You have to stay informed, know what's going on in your particular county. So this is happening in Florida. So what's happening in your state? You have to hold these leaders accountable, and you must get out and vote. And see, what's happening now is some people took voting for granted in the November election. Now all of these things are happening, and you're not prepared because you were told the okie doke. You were told you were not going to be affected, but guess what? It's going to affect all of us, because even if the migrant workers are shipped, guess what? They work at cheaper costs. So guess what? All of our prices are going to go up.
Just like they're doing right now.
People don't see the underlying effects of what can happen. They just think if it doesn't hit them on the surface, then they're not going to be affected by it at all. But that's not the case. You will be affected by it in the long run.
Exactly. So what we have to do is we have to educate our communities, because if we don't, who will? We appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you so much for joining the live today. We definitely appreciate it. You continue to keep tapping the screen and show us the love.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate that, and continue to send those gifts, guys. We love those gifts that you constantly keep sending us. We appreciate it, because every little bit counts.
And we do appreciate it. So what we're going to do is, going forward, we have to make a plan. I'm the type of person, I like to be prepared. Even before January 2025, I started setting some things in place. I started educating my children about how they should move forward in case there's a pitfall, in case there's a depression. It's all about preparation. If you feel like you're going to be affected, you need to get out and do some things. So going forward, we told you, we gave you what you need to do to move forward. Now, Broker J3, this has been a powerful and emotional conversation. I know it hit home for a lot of people because I've seen it in the comments. And whether you for or against modern day slavery, or you for or against the migrant workers, these are still human beings. We are all humans. So it's one, we needed to have this. We needed this conversation. We needed to have it because we're going to have more conversations like this, because we have to keep it real with you guys. And that's what we do here on the J&B podcast.
Exactly, Dot B. And yes, you're right. It has been a very powerful and emotional conversation today. But it's one that we needed to have.
Yes.
This is these conversations like this, as much as we like to have fun and give you guys the episodes that make you smile, laugh, or whatever, or talk about some of the craziness. Episodes like this, we have to keep it real and let you guys know what's going on. You have to stay informed. You have to protect yourself, protect your children.
Yes, absolutely.
And your communities.
Yes, you do. And so, like I said, this is just the beginning. We're going to have more intense podcasts like this. So make sure you join us. We're here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. And we're just on just about all of the platforms. I'll let Broker J3 go over all of those different platforms that we're on, and all of the social media sites as well.
Exactly. As Dot B said, you can always catch us on YouTube, which is our main platform where you can catch all of our content. Now, you can catch us live with J&B on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Bigo Live.
Yes.
You can catch us on all of those platforms with live and at J&B to watch our content. But if you want the full content, the playlist, everything, go to YouTube live with J&B. Now we know a lot of times you guys can't always make it to the live, and you like to check out our podcast later. Just make sure you go to YouTube for that. And for some of you guys out there that don't have time to watch, but you love to listen to our podcast, especially when you're on the go, maybe on your way to work or coming home, you can also catch us on our podcast, audio podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora. We're Apple Podcasts. We're on all of the major podcast networks out there. Just look for J&B Live Podcast, and we'll come right up. You'll see me and Doc B, and make sure you guys follow us so you guys can always catch all the new content that's out there. Again, we appreciate you guys for joining us. We appreciate everything that you guys constantly do to support J&B Live, and we look forward to you guys constantly joining us. And we are going to start our live gifts within the coming weeks. We're still putting that package together to be able to bring it to you guys, but especially for some of our amazing supporters that always love to send us gifts to support JB Live.
Thank you guys.
We like to give back to you guys, so
thank you.
We'll appreciate you guys.
Okay, so we're gonna keep this conversation going. So please add your comments. But I need to say this before we end the podcast. I want you guys to stay vigilant, protect your community, stay informed first. You have to know what's going on. Stay vigilant, protect your communities, and fight for justice. Fight for what's right. Because just think about it. You're leaving this legacy or what's happening is going to affect your children and your grandchildren and generations to come.
So before we go, remember, share this episode and any other episodes that you guys like and want to share with your family and friends. Make sure you like and subscribe to J&B Live or Live with J&B, and stay informed.
Yeah, and until next time, guys, thank you.
I'm Broker J3.
And I'm Dr. V.
And let's talk about it.
Thank you, guys.